Well, that's the head off. It's quite carboned up, but there's not a lot of play there really, I'd say. If I just move the piston down its stroke a bit, I can feel a little bit of a groove. So it might need reboring, I'm not sure yet. It's a bigger piston than I thought it was. Let's have a look underneath at the head. Yeah, it's quite carboned up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean the head up in the shed and start grinding in the valves. So that's what I'm going to do now. Well, I've removed both valves, and if you look in the exhaust port you can see it's really coked up with soot. So that's going to take a bit of scraping out, I think. Also the valve guides are quite worn, so I'll probably get replacement valve guides when I restore the engine. But at the moment it's basically just decoke and getting it running again. The exhaust valve is quite pitted and carboned up, as you can see. So what I think's happened is the carbon's got him on the valve face and stopped it sealing, so it's basically act like a decompressor. So it's going to take a bit to decoat that, but I think it'll be alright. You can see a bit of oil in the inlet port because the oil's been coming down from the rocker cover through the valve guides because they're quite worn. I ain't going to show you that because I put gloves on, hold my camera because it's getting it quite oily. But anyway, I'll clean the valves up and give them a grind. Well, that's the cylinder head cleaned up, all the carbon's gone. You can see quite a difference in the exhaust port. There's about, well, more than ½ inch in places of carbon. All the inside of the port as well was all filled up, so I've scraped it out. You can see, here's just some of it. Most of it went over the floor and that, but there's some of the carbon. There's quite a bit there. It's about 1 inch deep there. That's quite a lot. It's like potash. So, yeah, I've cleaned the valves up and I'm about ready to grind. I'm surprised at the exhaust valve really, because it's not as bad as you'd think it would be. Probably the carbon all over it just protected it from being burnt really. It is quite clean. Same with the inlet valve with a little collar on it. So I'll probably start by grinding in the inlet valve. I've got the grinding stick here, but because it's got a screwdriver gap it might struggle to stick, so I'll probably use a screwdriver for this grinding. Yeah, there it is. There's used a bit of fine paste in a Vaseline tub, so I better start grinding. Well, that's the valves ground in. It looks to be quite a good job. I had to use the coarse paste on the exhaust valve because it was quite badly pitted. There's still a few little pits, but not half as bad as it was. So what I'm going to do now is clean up the carborundum paste that's on the valves and in the ports there, and then I'll put the valves back in. I'll clean the springs up and that first, but that's what I'll do. Well, as you can see, the valves are reinserted into the cylinder head, so I think it's coming on quite nicely now. Those valves should seat right and it should build the compression up. So what I'm going to do now is get the injector up here and see if I can clean it up a bit. Well, here's the injector. It's a Bryce YN because I wiped off the dirt from there and just, you can see it's a Bryce one. In comparison to size, there's a light bulb. It's a 21 watt light bulb. So it's quite a big injector really. I've never really seen one as big as this before. Not even the PAZ1-2 dumper engine's got one this big. Anyway, I'm going to clean the nozzle carefully. I'm not going to take it apart, and I'm going to clean off these fins a bit, but I'm not going to really do a lot else because this video is mainly aimed at getting it running again and giving it a bit of service to make it run a bit better, not cosmetics, because I'll do that when I restore the engine. So anyway, I'll clean the injector up. Well, that's the injector cleaned up and reinstalled onto the cylinder head. So I think now what I'm going to do is go down and have a look at the cylinder and piston itself. Just about done all the rest I can on this cylinder head now. So I'm going to go down and decarbon the piston. Now I've brought the PAZ1 outside now because as you can see, there's been a nasty oil leak here. So what I'm probably going to do is clean off all this I can, and then maybe remove the cylinder, because I think there's no gasket underneath the cylinder, so I'll probably make a gasket there, stop it leaking, and remove the piston from the con rod as well, and then clean the carbon. Well, that's the cylinder and piston taken out. So you can see the piston's quite mucky, and one side it's scored. That's just muck, but there's quite a little bit of score in there. So what I'm going to do is clean the piston up, take the rings off, check the gap in the bore of the rings, and then probably give the bore an outside clean or the cylinder, and then put it back together again. Well, that's the piston and cylinder all cleaned up. See the cylinder down there on the floor. Yeah, it's looking quite good, the piston. Couldn't really get a lot out from underneath the piston, but you can see it's no carbon right now, no tarnishing or nothing. You see the piston says actually petrol on it. Actually says petrol on it. It's a well-worthy piston. That's what it says. And it's plus 20, so it's, I don't know whether it's been oversized in the past or it was plus 20 from new, I'm not quite sure. But it's plus 20 and it's a Petter piston. So what I'm going to do now is get ready to put it back onto the engine. Well, there's the cylinder all put back on and the piston in. A bit of oil soaking around the rings just to get them to bed in a bit. I've also put sealant on the shim below the cylinder because it was leaking oil, as you can see. So what I'm going to do now is sort the head gasket out and then put the head on. Well, it's nearly all back together now. I got the head on, the cylinder, the pistons in. Before I put the fuel tank on, I thought I'd show you that the resemblance to the Petter A1. I know the Petter A1 has the flywheel on the outside, but the PA1, which is the petrol engine with the fuel oil pump even, has the cowling like this. It looks quite a bit similar. The flywheel is similar to the Petter A1 on this engine, but it's a bit thicker because it's a diesel engine. So anyway, I'll put the tank on and we'll see if we can start. Also, before I never had a squeak from the injector. I had a little tiny tick and that was it. But since I cleaned the carbon off the injector, if you listen, and also put the decompressor down, quite a bit more compression now. It was just that see, I'm struggling to turn it over compression now. It's not as much as I'd like it to be, but it's still good. So anyway, I'll put the tank on. Well, I've put the tank on. Let's see if he will start. Running quite a bit smoother now. Looks like a bit of extra carbon burning off. See all the sparkles keep coming out. It will need new rings though, because the gap must have been 50 or 60 valves, so well overdue new rings. If not another rebore. So it's quite a big groove in the top of the cylinder where the rings come up to. He's doing well for his age. He'll be 50 in February. Put it on a new trolley as well. You'll see a video on that in a couple of days, I suppose. A bit louder now than it was. I suppose before, don't know what happened there, my camera sort of flicked off. Yeah, a lot louder it was. Half double the volume really, I think. Anyway, it's so hot. Yeah, so I'm pretty pleased with that. It's a lot better. Quite a bit more power I can see as well. Yeah, so that's another successful project. This will be restored sometime when I've got a chance, but for now I'll keep them going. Anyway, thanks for watching.